Welcome to Ask Lynn. This is actually part 2 episode, you guys, because yesterday, Tina and I were nicely talking, and my phone decided to play games, and it literally hung up the phone on Tina. My conference call line did. So, for those of you that haven't gone back to listen to part 1 of me sharing my story, and Tina specialized in the hospice care, go back and listen to part 1 of Tina's interview to get the gist of part 2. And what we talked about yesterday is how to deal with hospice, and I shared that my biological mom actually died of meningitis, and now that I think about it, if someone had put my head on straight at that time, I would have called hospice and did all that, but no one put my head on straight at that time. It was just battling a freaky disease of meningitis, which no one wants to get. Viral meningitis, no one wants to get. So I'm going to let Tina take it away and continue the conversation of where we left off yesterday. And I think, Tina, you were saying, before the phone line cut me off, I think you were saying, you were asking me if I was staying in the education field for the next years. Was that correct?
That's exactly where we left off. Yes, that would be great. Just kind of button that up.
So I am staying in the education field for the next 3 years because my biological mom / my stepmom is now are both huge advocates for disabilities, and my mom will tell you this, before she had me, my biological mom didn't have a clue what having a disability was like before she had me. And she admitted that to me publicly. So she learned the hard way. After having me, because when she had me in '87, we did not have Google. We did not have support groups online. We did not have everything. So I want to make a living off my books and make a living off my podcast and have the podcast be sustainable on its own. And I also want to still be in the teaching field, but teaching on a podcast instead of teaching in the classroom. And as you guys know, I am getting slowly but surely getting my associate's degree in journalism. So that's why I said I'm going to be in the education field for the next 3 years, because education is emotionally soul crushing. I mean, and we get paid pittance, and trust me, you guys, it has nothing to do with my disability whatsoever. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, I get paid higher via this podcast than by you guys than I get paid at my teaching job. And even though it's a W-2 teaching job and I shouldn't be complaining, it's just the nature of the beast. Teachers in Alabama, teachers in the South, teachers in Colorado, teachers all over the planet don't get paid as highly as they should. And so that's why I'm going to be in the education for the next 3 years. And then I'm going to step away and teach through this podcast.
And when are you teaching just personal development, living with disabilities, or are there certain specific topics you're focusing on?
I am I am teaching on how to deal with disabilities for one, and then I am also going to be teaching on how people can write their books, because Tina, you written a book, I've written a book, I know you written a book, but when we did it, I think you and I, we had no book coaches, we had no anything, and I am starting to teach people with disabilities how to write their books, because I feel like there's a need. There's a need in this space to have people write their legacies down, and this is what I was going to say to you, for your clients at your 9 to 5, if you don't mind me interjecting, I think we should get a book writing class all across the country in these senior centers or in these in the Vietnam War Veterans Centers, because they have interesting stories. God knows they want to leave their legacy too.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody has a story, whether you're a veteran, whether you have a disability, whether you are just, an able-bodied person that has gone through a lot of experiences. I mean, Everybody has a story, and there's a company, I guess you call it a company, called Fiverr, Fiverr. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
They, a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to write a book, but what I will ask them is, have you ever told your story to anybody? Have you ever sat down and had a conversation and told your story? And most people say, well, yes. Well, if you record your story, just speaking your story, there are people that will transcribe your recorded word, and they're your, 3/4 down the road of having your book written, because they'll simply transcribe what you say, and I think it's $1 a minute or $1 a piece. I honestly can't even remember, but it's relatively inexpensive, and so almost anybody can write. If you can speak your story and record it, you can write a book, because you can have your spoken word transcribed.
How I do it is silly. How I do it is Apple dictation, and I have Dragon naturally speaking on my laptop, which is, because of the PC, you guys, it's not so powerful as a Mac. But I use Siri, I use iVote. I come in, believe it or not, and I still have the original manuscripts on iPhone. I believe it was the second iPhone that Siri just came on, and I thought, well, this is cool. I have to figure out how to finish this book, because I was using a ghostwriter at the time, and that didn't work. So I figured out how to write my book, not typing a word, and I use speech dictation all the time. You guys know I do. And then all these speech dictation apps are very cool, and as soon as I get a Macintosh, without using Siri and Dragon naturally speaking, I apologize for the coughing attack. But I feel like everyone should write a story. I mean, I've been in anthologies. I've been working on my own stuff. I've been doing all this stuff for a long while now. I've been in this book industry for 7 years. So when I step away from the education today's teaching wise, I am going to be teaching people how to write their books.
Good. And I actually just came out with a compilation book. Some of your listeners may be familiar with what that is. A compilation book is when several people get together and everybody writes one chapter and then you put it all together to make a book. So this book just came out a couple of weekends ago, and it's called Life Boost. So it's about health, wellness, happiness, all that kind of thing. And, of course, my chapter was about end-of-life care and difficult conversations. And the title of the chapter was People Hate Talking About Dying, which is pretty true. But some of your listeners, if the thought of writing a book is a little too much for them to handle, maybe they've got friends that they could get together with similar interests or like-minded people, and they could write a compilation book together. So everybody just writes one chapter, and then you put it together in a book.
Yeah, exactly. Or they, they also call it anthologies, and if you I also page and then Kelly Tolls on, you will see the answer. Most one was women in social media. I've also done another one called 20 Beautiful Women, and I don't do them anymore, you guys, because there's too much work, quite frankly, and you don't know. With anthologies, you don't get paid by the compilator. So that's why I don't do it anymore. I do my own work. But I absolutely right. If you think, oh, writing a book is daunting, you might as well do an anthology. But I think it would be cool to get a book writing program in a senior center or in a VA, because these guys have stories too, and I wish I had the wherewithal to not only my mom but my grandmother too, because she would have been full of information, and so I wish, looking back on it, I had the power to interview my mom, but I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it. I was going to interview her when she got home. I didn't even think about interviewing her in the hospital. And, yes, when she was speaking, not in the mentally induced coma, but then when she became medically induced, she actually gave me the blessing to write I Come On Win, which that's how I started this whole journey of writing I Come On Win. And so when you're in those situations, after you talk about the end of life with your loved ones, and after you figure out what they want, I would suggest, if they're not mentally induced, or maybe you can do it in the hospital, I'm not sure. I would suggest you document those final memories.
When I think that is such a great idea, because when we were talking yesterday, what we're calling part one of this interview, we were talking about advanced care planning, and ideally you have conversations about what you would want, what you wouldn't want, how long you would want it, when you want it to stop. You have those conversations well in advance of the unexpected or a crisis. And I think once you have that conversation about your healthcare wishes, I think it's a fabulous idea to whip out your iPhone and start videotaping your loved one and have them tell their story, because then you can have not only their story, but their voice, their image. I mean, that could be such a powerful, wonderful, cherished piece of footage that you will have forever, long after they're gone. And I don't know about you, but every time we go to the graveyards at Easter to clean them, put flowers on them. That's just kind of a family tradition we have. We're always going, okay, now who was that one and how did she die and how are they related? And, you know, we could never quite remember, but if you can get the people in your life who know all that backstory and history to tell their story and put it on a video and record it, I think that would be such a wonderful piece of work. And in fact, I have a friend who lives in Arizona. His name is Mike Brett, and his business is doing exactly that. He goes and records people's life stories.
I've heard of him. I've heard of him. I've listened.
Have you
believe
really?
it or not, I've listened to. I believe it was him. I've listened to him on a podcast, and I've listened to him on a podcast, and he was, if I'm getting my story correct, he was a carpenter felon, and he decided to transfer over to making memories for people.
Yeah. And he'll do anybody's life story. He really loves multi-generational businesses. Like if your dad started a hardware store and his dad had it before him and now it's going to go to his son. So that's kind of one of his little niches is he really enjoys getting multi-generational business owners to tell their life story. But he'll do anybody's life story. But like I said, if you've got a phone and it's got a camera on it, you can shoot your own video life story with your loved ones, and I think that's a fabulous idea.
The power of technology. I mean, my next question beyond that is, I know you can do it privacy in your own home, and the reason why I didn't do it with my mom is because I thought about it, but by the time I turned around, they said no cell phone. They said no cell phone in the ICU. And so I thought, well, there goes my idea out the door. But no, I know she was going to love it. But that's why I didn't do it. Now, that being said, if a person is in the ICU and they are able to speak, can someone say, I want to do this for legacy, or can the U.S. remittance station, or is that a no-no because no cell phones?
You know, I think if somebody is in such a dire health situation like that, I would be so surprised if any nurse or doctor would deny such a request. I mean, you're talking about the last few hours or days you have with somebody, and I can't imagine somebody would not let you do that. I would think that they would.
Well, at the time I was going to do it, my mom was sitting up talking to me, and we were having a nice conversation. Geez, even though my mom was, I shouldn't say this, but I will. She was like any mom, we got into a mother and daughter spat big time, and she was the caregiver to the 10th grade, caregiver to me, my dad. I'm always a daddy's girl, and he knows that. And it will be, I will always be a daddy's girl because Dad got to do the fun stuff with me. My mom had to do the medical stuff with me. Right. But that being said, my mom was up. She was talking. She was doing everything a woman should be doing in the hospital. But by the time I turned around and by the time I saw it, I didn't even think about it. So you're saying on the hospice end, but I'm thinking that if they knew my mom was going to get meningitis, which they didn't know, I think hospice ends should be aware of no cell phones in the end.
Well, and the fact that she was in the hospital, there are hospice nurses that can go to hospitals, but most of the staff that's going to be back at ICU are going to be hospital staff, not hospice.
Yeah. No.
So it was probably hospital staff that were making those calls.
No, and I didn't even ask that. I didn't even ask that.
I'm sure, Lynn, my goodness, your head was spinning in so many directions. I mean, hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. Hindsight is 2020. And now that I have a bigger appreciation for hospice than I do hospitals. I mean, now that I understand the whole thing, if I had to do it all again, I would just did it all over again. But no, we didn't know. Well, but again, you
didn't know. You thought your mom was going to rehab and she was going to be fine. You didn't know this meningitis thing that came out of left field.
The meningitis thing came out of left field, and it always does. And so we didn't know what was going on. And now to tie up this interview, other than your grandmother's and then I'm actually going to say my perfect Ketchie end of life on this podcast with Gina, believe it or not, because she admitted hers publicly yesterday, and go back and listen to that, you guys. And so to tie up this interview on a happy note, what has been your favorite memory as Coulter at the end of his life? What has been your favorite memory? Now, you don't necessarily have to use a client's name for anonymity reasons, but what has been the best success story?
Well, I see we've probably got about 5 more minutes. I cannot give you just one because there's just so very many, so I'm going to give you just a couple of really quick examples. There was one woman who, her whole family loved to go swimming, whether it's the ocean or a pool or what have you. She was in the hospice home, and they were able to erect one of those outdoor pools in the back of the hospice home, and her whole family was able to get in the pool together. There was another woman who loved her horse, and they brought her horse to the hospice home so that she could go out in the parking lot and spend time with her horse. There was another woman who dated her boyfriend, for about 20 years. And when she came in hospice care, we were caring for her in her own home. She was not at the hospice home. She was in her own home. And she decided after dating 20 years it was time to get married. So our volunteers pulled together a stretch limo and a red carpet and a cake. And in a day and a half, we had a wedding for this couple. There was, of course, I mentioned yesterday, my mother, who a month before she died, she said she wanted to go to the beach to drink tequila sunrise on the beach at sunset. Yeah. So there were a lot of people that really embraced what hospice really is about, which is it's about how you live. It's about making the most out of the time you have left, making memories with your loved ones, and doing the things you love to do. And I will also, on a happy note, suggest, I'm not suggesting anything, but I just have to share this one woman. She wanted to attend her own funeral. So she made them do the funeral before she died because she wanted to hear all the nice things everybody was going to say about her. So they actually had a funeral with her there.
At least I had a chance to practice. And that one I think is cool because at least they had a chance to practice before they did the actual funeral. And they were able to say that the person who was dying on the hospice was actually at this funeral. We actually got to practice on that. So that one I don't think is more, but I think that one is cool. Jeez.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Dying is the saddest, most, just the worst experience any of us will ever experience. It just is. But it is inevitable. And if you can think of when a baby is born, that's a beautiful time of life. End of life can be a beautiful time of life. If you embrace the fact that this could be an opportunity to make some of the most meaningful memories that you will ever have with this person. It can be a time when you have the most meaningful conversations with this person. And as sad as it is, try to make that experience as beautiful and meaningful and compassionate as you possibly can, so that there are no regrets. I did a video a couple of weeks ago talking about a good death and a bad death. And your mother had a good death because she told you exactly what she wanted you to do, and you did it. And you had no regrets about how that went because you knew you were honoring her wishes. I think a bad death is when there are regrets. And they're typically regrets.
No.
People don't have these conversations.
And that brought her so much peace, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy knowing that, because, as I said, my dad didn't even know that, and they were married for 28 years, and my dad didn't even know that. And she did it to me at the weirdest time. I'm like, you don't have this conversation as you're walking out the door? No. But had those conversations in the weirdest possible moments, and then you understand what the people actually want. And one of the things she said to families, I want to be cremated. And we still have her ashes. I know exactly where they are. And so that's what we did. She goes, I don't want a funeral. I don't want a memorial service. I want to be cremated. I want. So she was very go-go of how she wanted to die. And she said, if anything happens to me dying, then I'm not allowed to speak. Take me off life support. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy when I said that. But then we all got a sigh of relief because I knew exactly what I was going to do. And even if she did pass on, we were going to talk to the doctors to pull off life support. And I think life support is key for the body. And so I'm happy that my mom made the decision as she was up late and walking about life support.
Yeah, it's the greatest gift she could have given you.
So where can everyone find you? And I know you're on Twitter because you contacted me. I have your phone number. But where can everyone find you? And I know your email's at the bottom of your email signature.
My website is exactly that hospice tagline. It's about how you live. So if they go to it'sabouthowyoullive.com, that's my website. My email address is tina@it'sabouthowyoullive.com. And my phone number, you're welcome, anybody's welcome to call me. I really especially would love connecting with any medical professionals that need some training about getting comfortable with these conversations. That's my real focus, is helping them get that education. So my number is 336-655-0200.
See, people tell me I'm nuts to give myself on a podcast, but I don't think I'm nuts. And you just did it on my podcast. So there we go. You're not nuts, and Liz not nuts. So just contact us because we need to educate people on this subject. And I hope you guys enjoyed part two. Part two may be out this afternoon, but definitely on Tuesday. If you missed part one, which came out this morning as we're recording this, it's Friday. But if you missed part one, go back and listen to part one, and I may bring Tina back on the podcast in about a month so we can revisit this conversation, although I haven't decided that. But I appreciate Tina, and I appreciate all the work she's doing, and people just need to be educated on this subject, and I know it's a taboo subject, but I told my story, I told my mom's story quickly, and that's how we do it, and Tina's here to educate all of us. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Wynn, for all you do.